Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Dr. Robinson here again. We are going to continue our studies. This time we're solving equations that have two steps and they have a lot of fractions involved. So let's get into it. So to solve two-step equations with fractions, step one, we're going to add or subtract to isolate the variable term. So we want to get the letter by itself. Step two, we're going to multiply or divide to solve for the variable. And step three, we're going to check our solution. All right, so I have a little example over there you can look at in your spare time. So I'm just going to get right on it right now. So our job is to get the letter by itself, so that way it will have x equal to whatever we're interested in. So here's the letter, and you have all of this stuff. So step one said we're going to add or subtract. Well, how do we know if we're supposed to add or subtract? We look at the sign that they've given us here, which is addition. We're going to use the inverse. So if you remember my other video about solving one-step equations, we use the inverse, which means the opposite of add, which is subtract. So I'm going to subtract. What am I subtracting? 4/3. I'm going to do that from both sides. So minus 4/3 from both sides. If you remember what that does, it cancels out this or adds it up to equal to 0. Then I'm left with just x over 6 plus the 0, which canceled out. And on this side, I have 2/3 minus 4/3. Well, if you remember how to subtract fractions, you got to have a same denominator. So the denominator is the same, so it stays the same. And now the numerators, we have to subtract. 2 minus 4, that'll give us -2. And our denominator will stay 3. So this is equal to -2/3. So let me rewrite it because I don't need the 0 there. So I have x over 6 equals -2/3. Now the next step, step 2, I multiply or divide depending on the operation that's given here. So we have a division bar there. The fraction bar means division. So I'm going to do the opposite of division, which is multiply. So I'm going to multiply by 6. And that's the denominator, so I can get rid of the denominator. But remember, you do that to both sides. So 6's are going to cancel out or cancel down to 1, leaving us with the x. And on this side, we have -2/3 times 6. Well, let me change the 6 to a fraction, put a 1 underneath it. If you remember how to multiply fractions, we multiply the top times the top. So that'll be -2 times 6. And we multiply the bottom times the bottom. That'll be 3 times 1. -6 times 2 is -12. And 3 times 1 is 3. Now I can simplify that. -12 divided by 3 is -4. So my answer would be x is equal to -4. So let's circle that. So x is equal to -4. So there's my answer based on the work I did. So it's like solving the questions we did in the other video, one-step questions, but now it's a second step with a lot of fractions in it. So we need to check it just to see if we were right. So let me clear this out. And now I'm going to replace the x with -4. And let's put everything else back. The 6 plus 4/3 equals 2/3. All right. In order to add fractions, I still need a common denominator. I got my denominators are 6 and 3, so the lowest common denominator would be 6. So this is going to stay -4/6, but this has got to change to 6. So how do I get that to change to 6? Well, I'll multiply the top by 2 and multiply the bottom number by 2. That'll give me the 6 on the bottom, and 4 times 2 will give me a new numerator of 8. And let me put back the plus sign here. and this is supposed to equal to 2/3. So I now have my denominators the same, so they're both 6, and I have a numerator of -4 and 8, which I'm supposed to add, but I can't add them because they are different um, different signs. So how do we deal with adding different signs? Well, we subtract the numbers because 8 is a different sign from 4. When the signs are different, we subtract the numbers. So 8 minus 4 is 4. And we're going to choose the sign of the larger digit, and that'll be the 8. So the 8 is positive, so I'm going to make it positive. And my denominator is still 6, so that's good. So I'll leave that the same. And this is equal to 2/3. So 4/6 equals 2/3. How do I know that's correct? Well, I can simplify 4/3 with my calculator or divide it by 2, or I could remember when I have proportions, equal fractions, I could cross multiply. So that means 4 times 3 is equal to 6 times 2. 4 times 3 is 12. 6 times 2 is also 12. So I know when x is equal to 4, my answer is right because it checks out, because 12 is equal to 12. So I hope you enjoyed that question with the check and everything. So let me give you one to try. So here's one for you to try. You might want to pause the the tape for a minute and see if you can get the answer. So I'll take a sip of water while you try this one. Okay. Hopefully you got x is equal to -16. You got it? All right. If you didn't get it, let me check it. So see what happened. First thing I notice, I got to do the opposite of adding, which is subtracting. But am I subtracting 1/2 from both sides? What that does is it cancels out the 1/2, leaving me with x over 16. And -1/2 minus 1/2 is -2/2. Because remember, uh, the rules for subtraction is adding the additive inverse of the second fraction. So that would really be -1/2. Change this to addition and change this to its opposite, which would be -1/2. And the denominator stays the same. And -1 plus -1 is -2. So that's how we get -2 over 2. So, or you can use your calculator. So now that we have the same number with the same number, that's -1. So we have x over 16 equals -1. Now the next step is to get rid of the denominator by multiplying both sides by the denominator, which is 16. I'm going to multiply by. What that does is it cancels down the denominator, leaving me with just the x. And -16 times 1 gives me -16. And that is my answer. X is equal to -16. So it does check out. So if you got that right, great. If you did not get it right, watch the video again. Check your answers. Write your questions down, and we'll practice some more to make sure you get it. So here's another question for you. X over 12 plus 1/3 is equal to -2/3. So see if you can get that one. Pause the tape for a second and see if you get it. Okay, let's give it a shot. First thing I'm going to do is the opposite of positive plus 1/3 is -1/3. I'm going to do that to the other side. What that does is it cancels out the 1/3, leaving me with x over 12. My 1/3 cancels out. And over here, I got -2/3 minus 1/3. I'm going to see if I can get my calculator up. So negative, get my fraction bar, and move this over a little bit. 2/3, and move over, minus fraction bar, 1/3. and let your calculator do the work for you. Because we have them, we can use them. Equals -1. All right, so let's pull that out. So that equals -1. So this side is equal to -1. And I'm almost home free. Now I got to multiply both sides by the denominator, which is 12. What that does is it cancels out the denominator, leaving us with just the x. And over here I got -1 times 12 is -12. And that is my answer. So I hope you got that. Let's check it. -12. So these are pretty good questions with all these fractions, but you should not let it bother you because there's more than one way to do this. If you want a real good, since you have a calculator, why not change the fractions to decimals? So that's a good way to deal with these. So that way you don't even have to deal with the fraction. So let's see. Here's another one. X over 8 minus 1/2 equals -1/2. See if you can do this one. I'll give you a couple seconds to pause the video, and then I'll come back on and we'll try it. So hopefully you'll get this right. Go. Okay. What did you get? 0? All right. 0 is correct. So let's see how you got 0. First thing is you got to do the opposite of minus, which is plus. So I'm going to add 1/2 to both sides. What that does is cancels out that, leaving me with x over 8 on this side. On the other side, though, I have a -1/2 plus 1/2. That equals 0 on that side of the equal sign. So now I'm home free. All I got to do is multiply by the denominator, both sides. What that'll do is it'll cancel out the denominator for us, leaving us with 8. And 0 times 8 is 0. So you are right. X was equal to 0. And you can check that as well. So I hope you're getting this. You're getting good practice. If you're not, rewatch the video and write down your questions, bring them in, try them again, and see if you can get the answer again. So here's another question for you. I'm going to let you do it on your spare time, bring in the answer, and see if we get it right. So x over 20 minus 3/5 equals 2/5. Here's another question for you. X over 16 minus 3/4 equals 1/2. So I hope you're getting it and getting down the answers right. I'm going to do one more question for you and call it a day. So x over 25 plus 4/5 equals -3/5. Oh man, that's tough. I give you a minute to try to work it out. So pause the video and see if you can work it out. And as I said, you might want to change everything to a decimal. That might make it a lot easier to deal with. So think about it. All right, did you get the answer? What was the answer? -35, Dr. Rob. -35? How'd you get that, Dr. Rob? Well, let's go. So first thing I'm going to do the opposite of adding 4/5, which is subtracting 4/5. What that does, it cancels out the 4/5 that's being added, leaving me with x over 25. I have -3/5 minus 4/5. That gives me a -7/5. So -7/5. Now that I got that, all I got to do is multiply by the denominator on both sides, and I'll have my answer just like that. So the 25's cancel out, leaving me with x, and I notice I have 7 times 25 divided by 5. Well, instead of dividing by 5, I can do a little shortcut right here. I can divide the 25 by 5. It goes 5 times, and that'll leave me with multiplying -7 times 5, which equals -35 on this side. So my answer is -35 like it said. Or you could have just got your calculator up. Let's clear that. -. 7/5 times the denominator of 25, and there you go. So you don't have to believe me, use your calculator. So there's the problem. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Remember, if you still need help, there's Dollar Teacher Homework Helpline, 212-777-3380 from Monday to Thursday from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. Give them a call. They can help you out too. Hey, Math Prep 21, The Pandemic. Watch for it. It's coming out real soon. Watch Dr. Rob's tutorial videos on YouTube. My channel name is Dan Robinson, PKMS. Subscribe to our channel. Help us to get to 1,000 subscribers. Write me a comment. Let me know how we're doing and what we could do better to help you out. I do write back. So look for Math Prep 21. You can tweet me at drobmath1. If you would like a worksheet on the topic that we just did, write me at drobinson@peekskillschools.org. So I hope you enjoyed solving equations with two-step dealing with all those fractions. Talk to you next time. Bye.